afternoon. I'm Katie, and today I'll briefly discuss Notarantonio and Jerry Cohen's 1990 research study, The Effects of Open and Dominant Communication Styles on Perceptions of the Sales Interaction. The researchers wished to test whether or not different communicator styles affect perceptions of the sales interaction. They make a point to clearly establish the relevancy of this study in the business communication field and explain to readers that communication is key in the selling process. Furthermore, they claim that the salesperson is the most important communicator in the entire organization and state the study supports the need for business communication research to examine the role of communication style in organizational effectiveness. Notarantonio and Cohen utilized Norton's 1978 Foundation for Communicator Style construct in terms of perceived communicator style and sales effectiveness. Norton defines communicator style as the way in which a person verbally and paraverbally interacts to signal how literally meaning should be taken, interpreted, filtered, or understood. Although Notarantonio and Cohen cite several other researchers, they use Norton's concept as the guiding framework for their study. The researchers established two main hypotheses. One, that the more open a salesperson was, the more effective the individual would be in selling the product, and the more positively he or she would be perceived by others. And two, that the more dominant the salesperson, the more effective she or he would be. The researchers assume that communicator style is something to be deliberately manipulated by the communicator, and therefore, in a sales situation, a salesperson can manipulate his or her style to provide for maximum sales effectiveness. In the present study, a dominant salesperson is described as one who responds larger and louder with less compliance and more requests for the customer to change his or her behavior. This salesperson appears to be more competitive, confident, enthusiastic, and forceful. An open salesperson is more conversational, outgoing, unsecretive, and frank. Subjects were comprised of 80 undergraduate business administration students enrolled at Bryant College. A demographic analysis of the subjects reveals the following information. 41.3% of respondents were male, and 58.7% were female. Students ranged in age from 17 to 21 years, with 73% of students being 18 years of age. 92.1% of the sampled students were freshmen. The researchers used high and low levels of dominant and open subconstructs to gather 4 combinations of communicator style and produce 4 videotapes. Openness was manipulated by varying the degree to which the salesperson talked about himself, whereas dominance was manipulated by varying the degree of persuasiveness and monopolizing of the conversation. The 4 tapes featured situations of controlled variables and showcased a programmable stereo system as the hypothetical product being sold. The customer in the tape remained neutral during the sales interaction. Only the salesperson's style was manipulated. The videos were pre-tested to a small group of subjects. Respondents completed a communicator style measure, and the researchers conducted a 2-way analysis of variance for each of the 2 measures. Results indicated that the tapes were perceived as intended. Subjects perceived the depicted salesperson as manipulated. After viewing the tape, subjects were asked to complete a questionnaire consisting of 42 items in Likert scale format. Researchers gathered 6 composite scores: general attitude towards salespeople, perceptions of the product being sold in the tape, interaction between the salesperson and the customer in the tape, general buying behavior of the respondent, probability of purchase of the product in the tape, and perceptions of the salesperson being depicted in the tape. The analyses for the measures of general attitude towards salespeople and observer buying behavior did not yield significant results. The perceptions of the product being sold in the tape saw a significant main effect for dominance, whereas the interaction between the salesperson and the customer in the tape produced a significant main effect for openness. There were significant main effects for both dominance and openness in the probability of purchase of the product in the tape, and the perceptions of the salesperson being depicted in the tape showed a significant main effect for dominance only. Respondents in general rated the high dominant, low open, low dominant, high open conditions higher than the high dominant, high open, or low dominant, low open conditions. The results indicate that the communicator style dimensions interact to produce effects different from the independent manipulation of the same dimensions. The researchers mention that a field of study that utilizes the Norton style measure would aid in increasing the external validity of the current study, as would utilizing as subjects those who were actually involved in the sales interaction. The researchers admit that it seemed respondents were mistaking dominance for openness in the sense that openness involves talking about oneself. The researchers claim this might explain why customers may perceive the high dominant, high open salesperson as being overly dominant. The researchers make an early assumption regarding the communicator style construct, which may have implications on the results. This assumption ignores the role of the buyer in the selling process. The researchers remind readers that a further research is needed in order to build a better understanding of what they deem a complex process. Furthermore, the researchers touch on the potential for different data had the hypothetical product not been an innovative one in need of a detailed explanation regarding its use, features, etc. This mentioning, as well as the one in regard to external validity, add to the credibility of the researchers despite the limits they present to the research.